Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Never Thirst Again. I'm your podcast host, Chrissy Smith, and I am so excited to be joining you on another fabulous Tuesday. Now, before we jump right into everything, of course, I do, like always, have to do my due diligence. And I just wanted to let you guys know that for those of you who have not yet subscribed to Never Thirst Again, we are available on several platforms, including Podbean, Spotify, Player FM, and of course, a host of other platforms that will be listed in the description of this episode. Now, let's just get right into it. I really wanted to talk to you guys today because I know that some days we are filled with doubt. Some days we're filled with uncertainties, and other days we can even be filled with an overall heaviness that can sometimes feel as if we are completely overtaken by the world. This is just a simple reminder for all of you to really try and reach down deep and remember the good things in life that help to make this journey worthwhile. Now, Philippians chapter 4, verses 8 through 9 tell us, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." Guys, this means that God has already given us wonderful examples to pull from every single day. Being grateful for life, health, strength, a supportive family, good friends, and so many other things that could fall into this category. Oh, goodness. It's enough to absolutely bring you to a place of praise and worship. And if not, then I pray that you get there. I pray that when you start making a list of all of these things that make you happy, of all of these things that God continues to do for you, that you do get to that place of praising and honoring Him because of how awesome He is. When things aren't going quite our way, we still have so much to be thankful for. So many things that are yet and still praiseworthy. So, on today, I have a special story that I'd like to share with you. Now, I'll go ahead and preface this by saying it may be one that you have heard before, but if you haven't, it's definitely a story that always strikes a chord with me whenever I hear it. And it's always a story that's worth sharing because it ties in 100% with what it means and what it looks like when you allow God to show up and shift your mindset from doing the unthinkable to walking towards a full state of recovery and redemption. And the story begins like this. One day, when I was a freshman in high school, I saw a kid from my class walking home from school. His name was Kyle. He looked like he was carrying all of his books. And I thought to myself, why would anyone bring home all of his books on a Friday? He must really be a nerd. I had quite a weekend planned, parties and a football game with my friends tomorrow afternoon. So I shrugged my shoulders and went on. As I was walking, I saw a bunch of kids running towards him. They ran at him, knocking all his books out of his arms and tripping him up so he landed in the dirt. His glasses went flying, and I saw them land in the grass about 10 feet from him. He looked up and I saw the terrible sadness in his eyes. My heart went out to him. So I jogged over to him and as he crawled around looking for his glasses, I saw a tear in his eye. As I handed him his glasses, I said, "Those guys are jerks. They really should get a life." He looked at me and said, "Hey, thanks." There was a big smile on his face. It was one of those smiles that showed real gratitude. I helped him pick up his books and asked him where he lived. As it turned out, he lived near me. So I asked why I had never seen him before. He said he had gone to private school before now. I would let's see. He said he had gone to private school before now. I would have never hung out with a private school kid before, but we talked all the way home, and I carried his books. He turned out to be a pretty cool kid. I asked him if he wanted to play football on Saturday with me and my friends. He said yes. We hung out all weekend, and the more I got to know Kyle, the more I liked him. And my friends thought the same of him. Monday morning came around, and there was Kyle with a huge stack of books again. I stopped him and said, "Boy, you are gonna really build some serious muscles with this pile of books every day." He just laughed and handed me half the books. Over the next 4 years, Kyle and I became the best of friends. When we were seniors, we began to think about college. Kyle decided on Georgetown, and I was going to Duke. I knew that we would always be friends, that the miles would never be a problem. He was going to be a doctor, and I was going for business on a football scholarship. Kyle was valedictorian of our class. I teased him all the time about being a nerd. He had to prepare a speech for graduation. Boy, I was so glad it wasn't me having to get up there and speak. On graduation day, I saw Kyle. He looked great. He was one of those guys that really found himself during high school. He filled out and actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than me, and all the girls loved him. Boy, sometimes I was a little jealous. Today was one of those days. I could see that he was nervous about his speech. So I smacked him on the back and said, "Hey, big guy, you'll be great." He looked at me with one of those looks, the really grateful one, and smiled. "Thanks," he said. As he started his speech, he cleared his throat and began. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe a coach, but mostly your friends. I am here to tell all of you that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. I am going to tell you a story. I just looked at my friend up there. I was in total disbelief as he told the story of the first day we met. He had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He talked of how he had cleaned out his locker so his mom wouldn't have to do it later and was carrying all of his stuff home. He looked hard at me and gave me a little smile. Thankfully, I was saved. My friends saved me from doing the unspeakable, was his sentence. I heard the gasp go through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy told us all about his weakest moment. I saw his mom and dad looking at me and smiling that same grateful smile. Not until that moment did I realize its depth. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small gesture, you can change a person's life. To my friends, this is just a small message from me to you. That story always does something to my spirit whenever I hear it. But when you hear that small, still voice urging you just to give a gentle hello or ask that neighbor if he needs anything from the store, it's because God needs to use you in that moment. He needs for you to be a blessing to someone else, whether you realize the implications of your actions or not. This is a great reminder for us to always be willing to follow through with God's purpose, always be willing to be kind, and always be willing to be obedient. After all, obedience is better than sacrifice. My friends, I hope that this story has blessed you on today. That is actually all that I have. But let me just remind you too, before I let you go, again, Never Thirst Again is available on several platforms across the board. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, and a host of others that will be listed in the description of this episode. As always, I thank you guys for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, even though I will be right back here again on this Friday. Take care and God bless.